We'll go ahead and get starting here in just a moment. We'll allow some people, I'm still admitting people through the waiting room, and we're going to go ahead and get the live stream up on YouTube. Okay, we are live. Welcome to your Clintonville Area Commission meeting for May. Today is May 6, 2021, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'll continue to monitor the waiting room and allow people to enter. Welcome one, welcome all. See some new faces here, which is very, very refreshing. Welcome to your Clintonville Area Commission, committed to the undertaking of the preservation of the values of the community through promotion, implementation, and recommendation to city officials. The CAC was empowered in 1974 by the Columbus City Charter to represent Clintonville community in the discussion of community concerns. By city code, the purpose of the CAC is to afford additional voluntary citizen participation in the decision-making in an advisory capacity and to facilitate communications, understanding, and cooperation between neighborhood groups, city officials, and developers. And we'll go ahead and get started with commissioner updates. Let's start with, is Commissioner Votero here yet? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and start with District 9 since I'm here. We'll work our way down backwards. How's that sound to everybody? District 9 do have some updates to render. The Aldi development was heard by the BZA last week, and they tabled it until June. The reason cited was that the city planner assigned Michael Merritt. Mr. Merritt wanted to see some alternative traffic patterns and wanted to review the traffic study with the Aldi real estate team. So that's the only update I have for you there. It'll be heard again, I believe, in June. So stay tuned for those of you who are following that issue. Trying to spread the word about how to request a city tree planting. Just started to post that on Nextdoor and my Facebook page and talk it up around the neighborhood. Tree planting, having street trees, a little byproduct of that, other than just beautification efforts, would be that it helps reduce sound. So it helps reduce mitigate the sound of traffic going by. It also helps to keep the air clean. And another interesting byproduct is that when you have the more street trees that you have lining a street, naturally the effect is that it calms the speed of the traffic. So trees make great traffic calming. So I've been trying to drum up some interest in doing that. So it's been really well received, and I've had people say, when you request one via 311, send me your request number and I'll follow up with the city forester. So, so far in 24 hours, I've already had 6 people from the neighborhood do that. So I would encourage all the commissioners to do that with their neighborhoods. And that's all I have to offer from District 9. Let's go ahead and hand it over to District 8.
Thanks, PJ. District 8, a lot of things going on. I'll try to be brief. Today, there was a truck that fell into a rain garden. So that was something that kind of is a culmination of a lot of people's fears that, these pits are a little bit dangerous. My understanding is that they got out, so it kind of worked itself out, but nevertheless, it's something that we need to follow up, or I need to follow up with Blueprint and make sure that they're aware of this kind of thing. Separate to that, there was a post, I think it was in the Linden North Linden page. And Officer Brian Wilson with the Columbus Police Department, he actually just called me as the meeting was starting to talk about this. There was a woman who was shopping at Kroger at Graceland, and she believes that she may have been targeted for abduction or human trafficking. So, it's not necessarily something to be freaking out about per se. I mean, but it is something that is a threat everywhere, and something that is a reminder to us to be vigilant and to be aware of our surroundings. The people inside some of these shops, especially later on at night, they have systems in place where they're able to escort you to your car if you feel threatened. So I think that, it's just one of those reminders that there are things out there and they happen locally and we should be aware of them. On the topic of crime, there's also been a lot of rifling through cars in the middle of the night. I think last night or this morning it happened pretty early or relatively late in the night, so around 5:30 or 5 o'clock. So that's just something, a reminder to lock your doors, make sure that you don't have any obvious things out in the open. People have come into my car before. I left it unlocked a few months ago, and they walked right past my camera as if it wasn't even there, and it recorded the whole thing, but obviously there's not much I can do about it after the fact. So lastly, the one big thing that's happening right now, and there's a lot of rumors spreading around, was that TJ's is no longer operating at their location at Morrison High. And so they've moved out most of their things. They're no longer, in business right there right now. They are in the process of setting up things to auction off their restaurant, essentially, interior stuff. And they have no official plans for relocating. There's been some rumors that they're going to be moving into Bear Burger in July, and that may be the case. But I talked to Richard Sokol this morning just to confirm what the latest was, and there's no official changes. And I made sure that they were aware that the community's behind them and wants to support them with whatever happens going forward. So that's kind of the latest on the TJ saga. There was a preliminary site compliance plan that was presented to the city of Columbus in late April. I think it was the 22nd. And I sat in briefly on that, thanks to Tony Celebrezzi giving me an invite to that. And it would be where the Christmas tree lot is, the proposed business going in there. And, them and Chick-fil-A both have uphill battles to kind of get these things rezoned and everything else. So I'm not going to share a whole bunch of information on it. I'm waiting for things to be kind of on their way down to being official at this time. But as of right now, nothing else in District 8, just kind of those things on crime and TJ saga.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrison. Appreciate the update from District 8. Let's go on to District 7. Commissioner Wyman.
Michael Wyman, District 7. I don't have anything to report. I would like to point out something interesting, though, a statistic that may enlighten some folks. In 2018, there were 61.5 million U.S. residents aged 16 or older who had contact with the police. Of those, only 2% experienced a threat or use of force by a police officer. And that's typically what you see. Even here in City Columbus, 2018, last time they did a report that I saw, there was 1,020,000 contacts by police. Less than 500 of those resulted in any type of use of force. Of those 500, only 16 resulted in a officer having used his weapon. Only 16 out of that 1,020,000. I'm just going to leave that right there.
Thank you, Commissioner Wyman. We appreciate that. Always good to have a perspective, and always good to have open minds, open ears, and open hearts to be on the receiving end of those perspectives. And I appreciate you sharing. I might also note that 3 years ago, I apologize, 3 years ago, then Chair Libby Weatherholt began working with the Planning and Development Committee to initiate a way to honor first responders. And this was during the aftermath of the fatal shooting of Officer Stephen Smith, who answered the call of duty to a domestic violence situation that ended up into a barricaded situation and a house fire, and it was escalated quickly, and Officer Smith lost his life protecting our Clintonville neighborhood. And Chair Weatherholt began those discussions with the Planning and Development Committee. It's been in the works and has been milled through the Recreation and Parks Division. It was decided that we would work on memorializing this event in a way to honor first responders with the planting of a tree grove that would be in Como Park. And so I've asked Commissioner Wyman to join me in bringing this to fruition. And I want to thank Commissioner Wyman for making himself to the avail of the community. And it brings special meaning and a certain weighted gratitude for him being willing to do this with us. He himself served honorably and was very giving of himself in his call of duty. And I just want to say that I appreciate Commissioner Wyman in helping me carry that torch. District 6, Kendra Carpenter regretfully it will miss this evening's meeting. She had a professional obligation that she was called away to, and we'll go on to Commissioner Bolton for District 5.
Good evening, Brittany Bolton from Central Clintonville, District 5. Nothing specific to District 5 to report this week, but I did want to thank Catherine Cole for helping. I had been running last week and saw a very large branch down on the trail over by that little pond when you come down the hill toward the prairie when you're running over in Whetstone on Olympia Trail when you access via the library area. So thank you. That was resolved really quickly. I went running this morning and it was already gone. So really appreciate that and looking forward to talking more about the community conversations around homelessness.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. We'll go on to, we now have, let's see, District 3. We are to you, Commissioner Weatherholt.
I don't have a lot to talk about. I've been participating in some talks about a study on Indianola. We're not at liberty to say anything, and it's 3 years away, but I do want people to know that the city and the state are looking at Indianola from Oakland Park South to Hudson. There's nothing to report. There's no action. We are all standing up for what we believe the neighborhood wants. That's actually more than I'm supposed to be saying, but I just decided that I really needed to say something about that. Otherwise, I guess there's nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you for your update, Commissioner Weatherholt. Appreciate it. All right, District 2.
Hi, District 2 here, Brian Pfeiffer. Some pretty big news that came out of District 2. So I think most everybody in the Clintonville community is aware, but the Olentangy Trail bike path did get selected for the way to complete the path. And so alternative number 2 was selected. So that path will go through Northmore Park, cut over, and then pretty much go right around the Ohio Health Building and behind, and then come out just on the other side of Sly Run and pretty close to where Como Drive is. And so alternative number 2 was selected. So that was pretty big news for the district. And just wanted to hear most of what I heard from the constituents that I let know who had some serious concerns about alternative number 5, they were super glad that wasn't selected. And so very happy about that. And so then just thinking about big picture, and these are more my thoughts, but overall, it'd just be interesting to see if the city does overall metrics on the adoption of the trail and how it's done. So I was thinking about 3 different metrics, and maybe can work with Catherine and the city on it, but just seeing if they had any overall goals to look at overall adoption of the new route, and specifically too with the new route, maybe where people are entering and exiting it. And then just reported the safety of the new route. So are there going to be any increased accidents, or can we see them and have report out over time? And then the third thing was just the overall traffic impact, because if the new route isn't adopted, there's probably going to be more light things there. And I think it could provide value if the city did this and then report out on it, and could help provide guidance for future projects. But a lot of these are my own thoughts, but just thinking about how it could be as a measure of success. So wanted to share.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner Pfeiffer. We really appreciate your engagement and keeping your finger on the pulse there. And I appreciate you reaching out to your constituency and all those that were concerned. I know that's been weighing heavily on their minds, and I'm really glad that they had you in their corner. All right, we are at District 1. Commissioner Votero.
Hi, sorry I joined the meeting a little bit late. Internet connectivity here in South Clintonville seems pretty slow tonight, so it's a little hard to get on, but I'm glad I'm here. A couple things that I've been doing. I've been helping a resident on Olympia who's having an issue with the adjacent commercial property. Plaza Properties is the owner of the shopping center where Lucky's Market is. They had done some work several years ago, which has created a really adverse drainage condition. There's 3 residential lots that have essentially a pond in their backyard now because the drainage was inadvertently restricted. So we're working with Plaza Properties to see how that can be remediated. I think it's an issue that the city might be able to assist with, but I think it'll probably just be something that is worked out among the property owners in terms of providing access and ongoing control so that flooding doesn't occur. But that pond has been there for probably 3 years now, and it really is, has the possibility to become a magnet for mosquitoes or, deteriorating property because it's going to kill all the trees and the vegetation that's been flooded. So we're trying to work through those issues. And I'm keeping track of the Indianola study that the city's doing, which Libby had mentioned, trying to get some of the nearby businesses that are important parts along that little link, like the Crest and the Save Our Growl and some of those corners that are very difficult. I've reached out to some of the business owners and tried to get them engaged so that they can at least kind of contribute to the process. So I think right now the city is trying to just build a network of people along the route who are direct stakeholders, and then they'll begin more active engagement as the process goes forward. But they wanted to kind of develop a list of contacts for that part of the street. So it's just in its beginning stages, and I think it's the initial that hopefully something good could come of this, but it's a ways off. But that's it for District 1.
All right. Well, thank you so much for keeping us informed. And I think anytime that I hear Commissioner Garrison ask about a setback variance on an accessory building or a garage, he always asks about gutters and eaves and where the stormwater runoff is. And on a smaller scale, that would be Commissioner Garrison asking about that. On a larger scale, this is what happens. So, but very interesting. Thank you for letting us know about that. Okay, that concludes our commissioner and district updates. Let's go ahead and hand the baton over to Commissioner Bolton, our secretary, for consideration of prior meeting minutes.
Thank you. On Sunday, this most recent Sunday, May 2nd, I shared a PDF copy of our April 2021 meeting minutes with all of the commissioners and committee chairs. Having received no edits to those minutes, may I please ask for a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
We'll go ahead and call roll. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 7. Commissioner Wyman, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wyman. District 8,
Yes.
District 9 too shall vote yes. Please note that the excused absence by Commissioner Carpenter for District 6 will mark her as absent, and District 4 is currently and in brevity vacated. All right, do you have anything else to report for the secretary's role?
Not tonight. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and hand the baton over to our beloved Catherine Call with a neighborhood update.
Good evening. I'm having technical difficulties, so I'm calling in and logged in at the same time. Sandra Lopez and Chastity Barham were both unable to attend tonight, so I'm going to be also sharing messaging from them. So the first message, Chastity just sent me in an email. She is following up with the concerns with the Burger King located at 3330 Indianola. She stated that based on the graffiti that is present there, public nuisance abatement action had been filed. This case was set for a conference on May 4th. A status conference is a check-in with the magistrate, the defendants, and code enforcement to discuss the condition of the property. While I initially heard from the gentleman from their property team, no one was present at the last status conference. Therefore, since the property remains in violation of the Columbus City Code, we will be moving forward with an injunction on June 28th at 11 a.m. Chastity will hopefully be able to join the July meeting, so she will have an update following that June 28th court hearing. And then I have a text from Sandra. They're tag teaming me in always. Sandra requested the capital budget recommendation that the area commission did. If you guys could email that over to her so she can share that with her colleagues over at City Council. And my reminders, it's mainly to Kendra, so I will reach out to her, but just so you are all aware, especially BJ, requesting the closeout budget be completed by the end of this month and have all paperwork submitted so that the Department of Neighborhoods can turn around and ensure your money is given back to you in a timely manner. I also sent out an email. I believe you should have received it from me and Toya Johnson last week about the next training. This is our 2 times a year we do a training with building and zoning. This one takes place next Saturday virtually. We highly recommend that people register, particularly the zoning chair and the chair. There's new information every time, and I learn something every time I'm able to attend that training. I assume it will also be recorded, so if you are unable to attend the training, I will certainly share those recordings or slideshows with all of the commissioners. Those are all of my announcements. I'm happy to take any questions from the commissioners or from the public.
Any questions for Catherine from anyone? Anyone on the commission? Are there any members of the public who have any questions for our neighborhood community liaison? All right. Well, Catherine, I know that you've really been putting in the hours with us for the benefit of Clintonville, and I really, truly want to give you the most sincere thank you from all of Clintonville for all the work that you do. I recognize that, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, BJ. I forgot to add one thing. I had a really good conversation with the newly elected Commissioner Hugh Crawwell. He replaced Judy Minister, and he lives very close to the Starbucks that has been of concern for quite a period of time. So I will be visiting that Starbucks tomorrow to request a meeting with the manager. Hugh, when we had our conversation yesterday, brought to life some really creative ideas, a way to alleviate the traffic. So I'm going to see if the manager there is amenable to meeting with me and Hugh, and we can discuss ways that we can be in better partnership with them. So I just wanted to thank you for talking with me the other day.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. And I too met with Hugh, and that was the prevailing topic in our discussion. And I have every confidence that we're going to be able to diplomatically work with Starbucks to help improve this situation. So I appreciate.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead and we'll table the treasurer's report in light of Commissioner Carpenter's absence until June. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce a new topic that I'll happily hand over to Commissioner Bolton. But in conversations between Catherine Call, Commissioner Bolton, and myself, we've decided that there are enough topical conversations and concerns being expressed on behalf of the neighborhoods about the increasingly visible homeless community. So I'll just go ahead and read the statement that I've prepared. I am introducing the Clintonville Homeless Community Task Force. The concerns expressed by the Clintonville community at large regarding the increasingly more visible homeless population in our community has been an escalating concern for the residents and business owners in our neighborhood. After discussions with our community police liaison, Chris Riley, and neighborhood community liaison, Catherine Call, and our own District 5 area commissioner, Brittany Bolton, we will devise a strategy to help manage this dynamic between the homeless population and the Clintonville community through proactive engagement and resources. Commissioner Brittany Bolton will chair this task force for education, information, and outreach for assisting those concerned and those within the homeless community. And at this point, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Commissioner Bolton.
Thanks, Chair White. I think that really summarizes why this group is coming about, this task force. I think you all have a copy attached to the agenda of sort of the plan that was first developed. Thank you for screen sharing. So you can see here, you know, in the purpose that we really want to create a space for factual, but also very compassionate community dialogue. We want to encourage questions from residents who've reached out about safety concerns, but also really address the root causes of homelessness and have some experts that we can turn to really explain both the status of homelessness in Clintonville, as well as broader Columbus community, as well as the resources that are available so that we can be connecting folks to the right resources in an earnest effort to get them off the street. So I think it's really, when we've talked about this as the small group, I think preserving the dignity of every member of our community, regardless of their housing status, is absolutely critical to the success of any of these conversations. And of course, I'm lacking my right? I apologize. I've developed a draft timeline as well as some suggested speakers. I really would love for this to be collaborative. If there are other commissioners who are interested in taking part, I would love to have your support, whether that's for one panel discussion or multiple. I think that this conversation is something that's bigger than one discussion could possibly handle. And I think it's bigger than we could squeeze into a typical monthly CIC meeting, which is why we had discussed having a continuum of conversations. So I really appreciate Chair White and Catherine kind of helping me brainstorm and talk through what the structure of this could look like. Personal background, I currently work for a nonprofit that does some affordable housing development. And I also used to do fundraising with the Community Shelter Board, which is the Columbus area's homelessness system funder. So I really have a passion for this issue. And I think that we can really loop in the right folks from the community who are leaders from the faith community, folks from safety, parks and public services departments. I apologize, BJ, I'm jumping over it on you. And as well as our neighborhood, nearby neighborhood leaders. Catherine mentioned that the University Area Commission actually has been working with OSU, and that I think that there might actually be a social worker on staff. I'm not sure whether at OSU or one of our other wonderful service organizations who might be able to do some outreach within our community, or even just have a conversation with some of our residents as well. So I would love to have our first meeting this summer, and I'm guessing that will probably have to be over Zoom, but I do think things are starting to open up a little bit. Maybe we can have a further discussion about what the possibility of an outdoor meeting could be. We have some great outdoor spaces in Clintonville, obviously, and could perhaps have, maybe a registration so we could keep in mind on what the numbers are for a head count for folks who might be able to attend in person. So that's a brief summary. It's a big topic. I'm happy to take questions now or feedback from other commissioners and other community members as to how we can make this the most impactful and effective convening that we can make it.
Okay. Any questions from the commission?
BJ?
Yes.
Brittany, I think it's a fantastic idea. It's very timely. I think it's very important. I would love to support you in any way that I can. There's issues that I think maybe are specific to District 1 that could be part of the conversation, but it's a much larger topic. It's a much larger thing. I'd love to talk about the resources that the city has in terms of outreach, and maybe how we can use some of those models and see what we can do in Clintonville to maybe find a solution which works for the unique character of the problem that people are experiencing in Clintonville, and help, or the friends and residents who may be having issues with homelessness. And, I'm happy to try to get some of the people with CRC involved. I think they've got great perspective on some of the unique aspects that Clintonville has in terms of housing issues and homelessness. Anything I can do to help, I would love to be a part of your group here. I think it's a fabulous idea, and I applaud you for stepping out and getting the initiative to get it going.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Batera. I will 100% take you up on that.
All right. Anyone else?
I wanted to share the sentiment that David said. I am appreciative of someone like Commissioner Bolton to be able to initiate this, and thank you very much for doing it, and I'm willing to help out as much as I can. I'm not sure what capacity I could, but I just wanted to express publicly thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrison.
I think this also speaks to the depth of our commission, and that we have such a cherished, the people who step up and serve as commissioner, but then take it one step beyond and really offer a higher standard of care that attaches itself to our volunteerism. I'm truly grateful for Commissioner Bolton's initiative in doing this. So I thank you.
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what everyone is saying. I'm kind of the catalyst that started this. I was receiving a lot of calls in the community with concerns about homelessness, or the appearance of increased homelessness. I think just because of COVID, it has made a lot of people more visible when they would traditionally spend time in libraries or rec centers. And I contacted Brittany because I knew she worked, at least I thought she worked at the time, still at the Community Shelter Board. And we talked about, the Clintonville doing some sort of education around this, and she has created something way bigger and better than I could have even imagined. So thank you, Brittany, and thank you for BJ for being willing to take on a task that needs a lot of sensitivity around it when you're presenting to the public. And I think you have done an excellent job in doing that.
Thank you again, Commissioner Bolton. Thank you for nudging us along, Catherine. Appreciate you. Okay, I think I may have inadvertently skipped over our CAC election chair, Ann Heckler.
Wait, BJ?
Yeah.
Just a little technical thing on the task force. The bylaws say that a task force goes till the next annual meeting, which would be July. And I think we just need to put into the form that this task force will serve through until the July 2022 annual meeting. I mean, that would be ridiculous to adopt this and have it, have to adopt it again in July. So if we just put that in, that will cover the bylaws.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to publicly apologize to our CAC election chair, Ann Heckner, for skipping over her in the agenda. She was right at the page break and I just leapt right over her, and I apologize. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the meeting over to Chair Heckner. Welcome.
Thank you. Actually, it was very interesting. So I'm happy to be here and listen to Commissioner Bolton's ideas about making Clintonville an even better place for everybody to live. Very quickly, the election results was that the 3 uncontested races came out pretty much how we thought they would. Crowell, 11 votes, Bolton, 6 votes, Weinman, 2 votes. Anything over 1 was a winner, or 1 was a winner. So everybody had excess votes. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to Catherine for helping us with the supplies and the boxes and the sign and everything. Thank you to Terry Sharkey at the library for always supporting us and helping us with materials. And thank you for BJ for the tent so that we were very comfortable. And thank you to whoever supplied our great weather for both Tuesday and Saturday. I don't know how we did that, but it was great.
You're welcome.
So thank you. Thank you. I didn't know you were in charge of that. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you for, even though we had uncontested, it's always good to go through the democratic part of the process to keep that routine intact. And want to say congratulations to Commissioner Wyman as he starts his first full term as his district's area commissioner. And thank Hugh Crowell for stepping up. We're really looking forward to having you aboard, having the pleasure of already meeting and speaking with you and having really good discussion. I think that Commissioner Judy Minister has left some very big shoes to fill, but I think you'll do it well. And I know that when I first took on the role as commissioner, I modeled myself after Judy because she does constituency outreach so well, and she's always been a role model for me in the way that she communicates. So I hope that you took notes, and we're looking forward. Would you like to say anything, Hugh, to the commission? Oh. You're.
There we go. Yes, thank you for that welcome. And thank you, Anne, for running a seamless election. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate the votes of all of my neighbors and well-wishers. And yes, Judy Minister is a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. And I would certainly beg my fellow commissioners' indulgence, as I am a newbie in this kind of role, but I'm learning a lot already. And in particular, talking to BJ and to Catherine and Brittany also. And I hope to, speak with other commissioners soon as I get up to speed. And I look forward to participating.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to getting your official letter of appointment from Mayor Ginther, and we'll look forward to having you officially seated in July.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. And
if I could just offer my thanks to not just you, but the committee members that have helped you along the way. I know an uncontested election may seem a little less than satisfying after the work that you put in to try to promote candidacy and that kind of stuff. But it's the nature of the business that running the election is a critical part. And I think you continue to kind of set a pretty high bar that other commissions could aspire to. I mean, I think we have very well run elections, and I think that really does set a bar that is probably unequaled around the city. So congratulations to you and the other members of your committee. But you're the public face of the committee, and you do such a great job. You deserve much thanks for it.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Commissioner Bolton. You begin your first full term. Is there anything that you would like to say, Commissioner Bolton?
I'm just grateful for my neighbors who turned out to vote, even though it was uncontested. They are wonderful, and I am looking forward to continuing to support them and serve with everyone else on the commission and get to work with incoming Commissioner Crowell as well. So I've learned a great deal from everyone else who I've served with in the past year, and I'm excited to have my first full term.
Fantastic. Thank you again. And Commissioner Wyman, are there any words that you'd like to say to bring in your first full term?
I too would like to thank Ann. She did a great job. She, I mean, really, through the pandemic and everything else, just puts her nose at a grindstone and does a really good job. So I want to thank her.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Wyman, for being willing to serve. And we really appreciated how you stepped up in the time that we needed to fill a vacated spot in your district, and we're very happy to have you again. Thank you. All right. I think that concludes the first half of our meeting, and we'll be giving the floor over to our CAC Zoning and Variance Chair, Stephen Hardwick.
Okay, thank you. I think first you want me to do the bylaws first and then the variance agenda second. So I'm not a stickler, Stephen. You have the prerogative. We can bump those around. We can. Then I will, in case that it might just be that some of the applicants don't want to sit through a bylaws discussion. Okay. I will start with there. Let me adjust things on my screen here. So I pull up my notes for here they are. For the okay, the first on the variance agenda was 54 to 56. I keep Kanawa. Do I pronounce it?
Kanawa.
How is it pronounced, BJ?
Kanawa.
Kanoa. Okay. Kanoa. Well, the applicant Kanoa.
Unless you live in West Virginia, and it's Canal.
Okay.
But it's Canal. That's BJ White Street.
Okay, now I'll get glad I finally got it right. This is just one of those odd cracks that a lot fell through. This is why we have the variance procedure. This place was built in 1949 as a duplex, and they want to refinance it, but the mortgage companies, being more sticklers than they used to be, decided that since it was the place was not, you couldn't have multifamily on it now, that he needed a variance if you ever wanted to get it refinanced, probably to sell it. He just wants to use it like it currently is used. Staff supported it because this is what our neighborhood plan says should be there. Even though he wasn't able to make it to the meeting, the committee decided to go ahead and vote for it 7-0 because no one saw any reason why he shouldn't continue to use it exactly like it's been used since 1949. So it's recommended approval 7-0.
Okay. Is Gerald here this evening? Gerald or Jamie? Okay. Well, I'll just speak on behalf of District 9 that you drive by the house, you can't even tell it's a duplex. So it's it really just kind of blends in with the single families. It's a very nice property, and Jamie and Gerald do a really good job of keeping it, and they do a great job of filling that place with great tenants. So are we ready to vote? Okay. We'll go ahead and call roll. District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
and District 9 too shall vote yes.
Okay, then on to the second item. This is another very small variance at 23 Arden. They seek a variance to reduce the minimum side yard from 5 foot to 4 foot 3 inches. And if you look at the drawings and based on what the applicant explained, there's about 1 square foot of encroachment total. They want to build an elevator so that they can stay in the home for longer. And it made sense when they do that to add a small powder room on the first floor to make that work. The elevator needs to be in the middle and so this is the only way they could do both those things at the same time. Because of the very small amount of variance, because there was a good underlying reason for it, we recommended approval 7-0.
Okay, I think Bonnie just joined our meeting. Did I just allow you entry?
Maybe Brenda.
Okay, sorry. Sorry about that.
Bonnie is the homeowner. I
Okay,
was the architect.
okay,
Yeah, Brenda Parker, I just joined.
okay,
Correct.
okay. All right, well, if there's anything that anyone would like to say on behalf of the applicant, please have the floor.
I think Stephen covered it pretty well. There isn't a lot to add, really. It's a smidgen of it's a tiny triangular. It's 1 square foot of triangular area that's just over the setback.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brenda. Sorry, I got the names confused there. I apologize.
That's all right.
Is the commission ready to vote?
Chair White, I had a question for the applicant.
Okay, please. Commissioner
and-
Garrison.
Understanding that, we're just talking about a small triangular space, everything, nothing seems really unreasonable. But I just wanted to check with respect to the house now. And it seems as though this area is taking over where there's an existing chimney or at least vertical flue space. And I was wondering if that area on the west side of the building next to the alley was going to be rerouted or anything, or if there's like function. I guess the question relative to the variance request is, I just wanted to make sure that, all of the facets have been looked at to make sure that there isn't going to be revised requests later because there are, logistical or utility type changes that had to be made.
No, there's nothing venting up that chimney. There's a fireplace in the basement actually that uses that vent, but that's going to be removed as part of this project.
Okay.
That's how we're kind of getting access into the floors.
Yeah, and I did see that there was kind of like the duplicate element on the east side, so it was conceivable that was just going to happen. I wanted for clarification just to understand that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions from the commission? Okay, now are we prepared to vote?
I could add a little bit on to what Brenda said with regard to that chimney location that just wasn't summarized. And that is that elevator to go up to the 4th floor, based on the way the roof is pitched, that's about the only possible location. So that was the reason for the placement. And that chimney is abandoned on all floors.
Okay, well, thank you for that further explanation. Are there any more questions or comments from the commission? Anybody from the public have a question for our applicant? Now, are we prepared to vote? Okay, with no objection, we'll go ahead and call roll. District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 4,
No, 3.
sorry, District 3, sorry.
That's a yes.
Okay, District 5,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9, 2 shall vote yes. Congratulations, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Chair Hardwick.
And the last item on the agenda was 364 East Tulane. The homeowners want to increase the allowable height of a garage from 15 to 25 feet. They put in the minutes, noted that due to my mistake, I didn't mail out the notices before the meeting, but I made personal deliveries gave hand-delivered notices of this meeting on this past Saturday to everyone on the list of on the notice list. Let's see. They do plan to demo their current single-car garage to build a 23-foot 6-inch garage. They'll, based on the city's request, they'll add additional windows on the sides of the second floor. In order to match the house, they plan to use the second floor to work from home with no water and probably ductless HVAC in it. They pointed out that the neighboring house has 3 floors. They do plan to use the existing footprint, but expand it. I did, when I was hand delivering the notices, take a look at it, and it would be the biggest garage in the immediate area, but it also really would match the house. So they are correct in that on that level. We voted 6-1 in favor. The one against is concerned that it could in the future be turned into an apartment if a future homeowner wanted to cheat and wanted to try to slip in water and sewer and all that stuff. But it's recommended 6-1 to support it.
Okay, are there any, is the applicant here?
Yes, we are.
Oh, hi there, Brandon.
Hi.
Hi, Reagan.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Is there anything that you'd like to add to Chair Hardwick's summary?
I think he covered it. I guess I would say the existing garage would fall in the footprint of the garage that we're looking. You know, we would be demoing everything out completely and building a new garage, not building onto anything that we have existing. So just wanted to clarify that. But really, it's just for some additional storage. The loft space would be for some additional storage, and then as Stephen mentioned, kind of an office space to be able to work from home throughout the pandemic. We're both working from home a little bit more often, so.
It's hard when we're on the phone all day next to each other.
I know the feeling. I can relate to that.
Yeah. We learned really quickly that was not working very well. I would also just mention, I think there was a letter of support written by our immediate neighbor here, the Clarks on the corner of, I don't know what their address is, corner of Esmond and Tulane. And we've also spoken to both of our immediate neighbors as well about the project and asked them if they had, any concerns, and they said no. So just wanted to also note that.
Okay, I am going to share the letter from the Clarks, if you don't mind.
Sure.
There we go. All right. Everybody see my email?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
My name is Erin Clark. I have been a resident Clintonville and of the house neighboring the Schnugs my entire adult life. I think everybody received this letter.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the commissioners got this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Yes. And I like how he closes the letter. Brandon and Reagan are true Clintonville, compassionate and kind. So
Very, very nice words.
I just wanted to take an opportunity to say that because I think that's just such a nice statement. Okay, so I do believe everyone has been, everyone has viewed the letter of support, but I just wanted to share it for the sake since you brought it up, okay?
Thank you.
All right, you're very welcome. Are there any more questions for the applicant?
Just a couple quick questions. Again, thanks again. I spoke with Brandon a couple days ago and had the pleasure of kind of having him walk me through his project a little bit. I'm supportive of the project. I think Stephen's right that the scale of it will be larger than the other garages in the area, but it's well scaled to the house. So I think it's going to be a good addition to the neighborhood. I think it sets kind of a nice precedent. It'll be an attractive garage. There's some pretty big trees close to the site. I don't know whether they're on your property or the adjacent property. What do you think is going to happen with the trees? What's the thought there?
So the one tree that's on our property will need to be taken out. We've talked about potentially taking that tree out, or at least getting it significantly trimmed back since we moved in, because half of it is dead.
Yeah.
So that one will need to come out. The one that kind of straddles the property line with Aaron Clark he was concerned about that as well. So he and I had a conversation. We actually both walked out there and looked at it. And worst case scenario is maybe having to take one limb that kind of sticks over towards our property off of that tree, but otherwise it does not fall in the footprint that we're planning. And even with the height, I don't think that tree is going to interfere at all with our garage. So.
Okay, great. Well, I'm happy to see that you're making some accommodation for the tree. It wouldn't have been unreasonable for you to just chop both trees down. Just
we like the shade.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're making a compromise here.
Yep.
Going to be a great addition. Very happy to see kind of the reinvestment into the neighborhood and true Clintonville folks. I'll echo that sentiment. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions or comments from the commission?
I have two questions for the applicant. There was, in reading the staff review, there was a statement about the sewer line, kind of making sure that the lateral from your house going to the 8-inch main in the alley was in good condition. And, as we talk about trees and other things, I think most of us who live in Clintonville are aware of how what kind of havoc trees can go on some of these older clay tile lines. Have you assessed what the condition is and whether or not anything is going into it? And if it's, I don't like to think about digging up sewer lines for no reason and replacing them, but is that something that was ever a consideration or looked into with part of this?
Yeah, so nothing is uncovered back there. When we get the tree taken out, it, I believe, falls pretty close to that. So with stump grinding, and then when we start to dig for foundations, my thought was to try to uncover it and see what it looks like, because God forbid we would build this whole garage and then figure out that the sanitary lateral's in poor condition. So I did reach back out to Michael Merritt at City of Columbus and asked him about that comment. He said it was more just kind of an FYI for us at this point, but that if we did uncover it during construction, to reach back out to them and they would have somebody come out and look at it. I believe it would be theirs to repair, but I guess I figured we'd cross that bridge when we got there. So
gotcha. The second part of it was, in addition on the staff review as well, there was planning made a note about adding additional windows on the east and west faces on the upper part of the garage. And I know that based on conversations we've had with applicants in the past, largely those windows sometimes get omitted because you don't necessarily want to have a window looking over your neighbor's backyard. Obviously there are going to be windows in the front and back, but is is that something that you're going to try to keep? And it doesn't necessarily affect, me yes or no on your variance request, but the question is whether or not that was the reasoning, and if you're going to try to appease the planning comment, or are you going to kind of go forward and keep privacy, or
We've actually already added the second story windows to our elevations and sent them back to the city, and they signed off on it, said that it looked great. So
okay.
the plan is to add them, and then we'll put some curtains up or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but it does really it looks nicer with the second story windows, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough. That's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, any more questions or comments from the commission for the applicant?
Yes, I just had one comment. I would be perfectly fine if you wanted to put water in there, especially considering what we approved last month. Yours is perfectly fine to have as any kind of use that you would like. Thank you.
All right, any more questions or comments from the commission? Any public attendees have any questions or comments? All right, checking the chat, checking the email, nothing from the public. Okay. Commissioners, are we ready to vote? Okay, we'll call roll. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes. Congratulations, you two. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And back to you, Chair Hardwick.
Okay, thank you. These are based out of the discussions the commission had a few months ago, and when I was drafting them, I did my best when possible to copy language from other parts of the bylaws to try to stay consistent. You'll notice that the rules section mimics the election committee rules section, not as much as possible, and same with the idea of filling vacancies. And I had maybe 5 considerations when I was doing this, and one is so that there would be public rules for the zoning and variance committee to follow. It would be good for applicants to know what's going to happen, and for the committee to have something that we can be held accountable to follow. The need for those rules to prescribe a public process for the selection of new committee members, which is what I'm proposing, is that the committee, since the way things work now is we start within the committee, that those rules tell the chair what they need to do to get the process going. The addition of a process to declare vacancies and replace committee members, including chairs. Again, when I took over the committee, I'm still not quite sure that there was any rule that allowed the then CAC chair to appoint me to fill as acting chair, because that's just not in the rules. But we did what we had to do, otherwise you would have shut down zoning for several months. But this creates an official process, and my proposal is to make it for all standing committees. That way you don't have a standing committee that loses the ability to act. I also added the selection of vice chair to the standing committees. That way, if the chair ever has a conflict or a reason, that we have someone who can take over right away. And I also, in all the rules, in some way or another, everything comes back to the commission, so that the commission has the final word on things. Now, a little more specifically on the zoning and variance rules, just like the election committee, I was proposing once a year that these get looked at. That helps partly because we don't keep coming back to them, and also I think there's a value in, one of the biggest values in having rules is stability, so that we have stability for a year. That also would make it hard to create a rule. We haven't had a big controversy for several years, but it would be easier if we had set rules so that it would be harder to change those to to adapt to one specific variance one large proposal. I suggested having them, that the Zoning and Variance Committee at its September meeting recommend rules to come to the commission the next meeting. That's because the September meeting is the first meeting of the newly selected Zoning and Variance Committee. I could see a good reason. You might want to push that back a month just to give, when there's a new chair or a new committee, to give them a chance to look things over and to think about it. That would certainly make sense to wait a month, but that follows the election committee's idea to do it once a year. Then the Zoning Variance Committee would propose the rules to the commission, and the commission would vote on them, and the commission could change them if the commission wanted to. But then that way, the zoning committee, who hopefully we know what we're talking about when it comes to what we need to do procedure-wise, we have the opportunity to share our expertise with the commission. Then the commission can decide whether it likes that expertise or not. And I guess the idea for declaring vacancies is almost exactly what it is for the commission. If someone resigns, it's simple majority of the commission can declare the vacancy. If someone just stops showing up, then it takes a little bit more. That's the same rule you have for yourselves. If someone just stops showing up, I followed that rule exactly. Again, I'm not wedded to any particular idea, but I hoped that I addressed what you needed. Oh, and I knew though that the importance of having rules about how we recommend people to sit on the committee. I think that is something that I think any chair would be not smart to propose without talking to the commissioners first. Again, if the commission doesn't like what they propose, you get to change it.
I want to say, Stephen, I really truly appreciate all the thought and attention and care, but mostly your responsiveness to the concern. I think that this really shows a lot of fortitude in your ability to lead and chair that committee, and I appreciate you taking time to do that. There's a couple of things, so long as we are visiting bylaws changes with regard to the Zoning and Variance Committee, I'm always a little bit surprised when someone votes yes or no, and then they cite it's not compliant with the overlay. And a member of the current Zoning and Variance Committee voted no, citing that for the Aldi, proposed Aldi, citing that it was not compliant with the overlay, when in fact this particular standing member of the Zoning and Variance Committee was not aware that it's a different overlay north of Morse Road. And that to me says, especially in light of all of the zoning revamp that's going on with the city right now, if you're going to exercise a vote, you had better know what overlay is applicable to the proposed development. And if you're going to serve on a committee where there are often changes, and right now the zoning code is very fluid because they are bringing up a lot of changes with regard to zoning. I think there ought to be some type of expectation that committee members are going to go to the training. And I think that ought to be part of serving on that committee, is I think that there ought to be a standing expectation, maybe an integral part of the rule that says that they have to go. If you're going to volunteer, you have to take on the responsibility of educating yourself about the zoning code. And I think I've gone to every year that I've been on the commission, I've gone to every year's training. And I even went to the zoning hearing. So I think that it's a fair expectation that so long as we're visiting the bylaws and establishing rules for the zoning and variance committee members, I think it's a fair ask to suggest that they go to the zoning, the annual training where they can get informed and education about zoning. And I also think that maybe we ought to put together some type of manual or handbook that says, these are the overlays. Please familiarize yourself with them before you exercise a vote out of ignorance.
I have two main reactions to that. One, I think it's a good idea to include the training in there. The only thing I might want to suggest, since they only do these twice a year, that if a member says they have a commitment that they can't get out of on the day, that we allow them to watch the video of it or something along those lines. But maybe you could say within the year. But I'm also open to just saying, if you want to join the committee, you have to make time for it. And secondly, just as a more ministerial day-to-day matter, part of the reason why I've been asking people to explain their votes when they wanted to is just for that reason, so that you got a no vote and you can say, wait a minute, you're wrong, instead of just seeing a no vote and wondering what were they thinking. That gives my committee members a voice, so they don't just have to depend on me saying what they thought, but it also gives, the more you talk about why you're deciding, the more people can tell you why you're wrong. So that's part of why we do that.
I think it would be an exercise in humility to tell a standing committee member that they're wrong about an overlay. I just think that they ought to take on that responsibility of informing themselves and educating themselves about the overlays of our commercial corridor if they're going to sit on a zoning and variance committee.
Is there a paragraph there that you want to add that requirement about? Because I'm just looking and we can't vote on this until June, and we need to have that in there somewhere. Do you have a spot?
It would fit in D. I guess you could make it after the C that I added, you could make it D, because that's specific. This is a zoning and variance committee specific. Well, if the first part of that is zoning and variance committee, the second part is general standing committee. So it seemed like it would be a D that within, I guess that's Catherine, how often do these happen? Do zoning trainings happen? Is it 6 months?
I think, sorry, yes, every 6 months. So there will be another one in September, October.
And just the only thing I would be, maybe I would be a little reticent about saying you're off the committee if you can't make it, is I've had not been able to go to zoning committees because they put them on zoning, they put them on Jewish holidays.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you tell someone, you might be telling someone, if you're of the wrong religion, we're not going to let you on the committee. If we say you absolutely must be there, but maybe you could say absent and excused absence, or I just something along those lines to give them some out in case there's just something they absolutely positively can't get out of.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say we would consider that on a case-by-case basis. And
Yeah,
in the event, many of these training sessions are taped, are recorded.
Yeah, Stephen, I would suggest that, we just use the advisory term should, that the members should attend a zoning training session within the first year of their service. So that gives them probably 2 opportunities to do that they should be familiar with the Clintonville area plan, that they should be familiar with the 2 planning overlays for Clintonville. I think that's setting a reasonable expectation, but, I don't know that we want something that, do they have to come in with proof that they attended this session or that they've read the Clintonville area plan? I think it helps a new member understand what the expectations are, and helps them to kind of understand what the body of material that they should be familiar with is, which part of the zoning section, which part of the city code, I guess I should say. That seems to me, and the advisory term should, I think, gives us a nice flexibility. I don't want, I think, Stephen, you probably could better than I figure out a nuanced way to say that so that it directs what we want, but provides a little bit of a, room to interpret, liberal interpretation.
I think you have the commission here has 2 choices, and this is your decision to make. You could go just to should and then consider it if they ask to be reappointed to the committee, or you could say they shall go unless they report that to the commission and the commission explains to, and they get a vote at the commission excuses their attendance or something along those lines. Or at least they watch the video if they can't attend, because there's no excuse for not watching the video at their own leisure.
The other thing that I'd point out, I think Libby and I have probably been members of the commission long enough that, when I first joined, there was no training, it wasn't an available thing. And we have a robust Department of Neighborhoods, and I'm very thankful for that. But, that's not to say that going forward that the city doesn't, maybe that's one effort that they choose not to consistently make. And I wouldn't want to maybe tie ourselves to a bylaw which relates to something that we have no external control and no control over, whether they're going to hold those training classes ad infinitum, or they're going to do that until they sort of think, well, we want to do that a different way.
Well, you have sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I don't remember a zoning training really that they've gone over overlays with. I have learned that through going to planning and development. But something, Stephen, like we have the expectation, or the CAC has the expectation, that members should attend trainings and, avail themselves of knowledge on overlays and whatever, a couple of other things that people have said, something like that.
Yeah.
And in paragraph C there, the first Roman numeral 5A2C, there's a typo in the third line. Describe the procedures by which the will be conducted. Yeah. And the other thing I really would like to encourage you to do is to either have the part of the duties of the vice chair be taking minutes to relieve you of that, or to also appoint a secretary.
I think that vice chair idea makes more sense. I've tried to also keep things simple,
right,
and not impose too much, because the zoning and variance committee needs more structure than anyone else. But I think you're right to say that maybe make the vice chair responsible for providing minutes.
You need to be, or the chair needs to have the brain fully open to everything that's happening and not also taking notes. That takes a lot.
Commissioner Wyman, I think you had your hand up, Commissioner Wyman.
Yes, I prefer the shall. And the reason why is so that, we can, guarantee that someone's gone through the training. I think should gives too much leeway to saying, kind of blow it off. So I would recommend a shall. As long as the training is available, they shall attend the training. And if they're unable to attend the training, that they would be able to tell the commission why they were unable to attend the training. I just think should just gives too much wiggle room.
I do have one question just procedurally, and I should have known to set it. Do you need to have the precise language that is voted on appear twice? Or can you, at the next meeting, can I draft changes based on what I hear now, present them at the next meeting? Or do I have to draft them here as we go through this? Do you know?
This is part of the discussion, and changes occur as a result of the discussion. So I think we're okay to proceed with your drafted changes at the next meeting.
Now, to be precise, I mean, there might be some motions that we need to do. I mean, this is part of the Roberts rules. It's up to you, but it's kind of what we got into last time. We have lots of ideas, but then we're still dealing with it next month.
Yeah. So we have to. This is our second of three discussions on the bylaws. This is our second of three discussions, and we'll have 3 discussions before we vote.
So we're not voting till July? Or
Or if we're ready to vote after the end of the 3rd discussion, there could be a motion on the floor to vote. I have another, and I have no opinion either way, but I think I like the fact that we might be able to, always wondered if I could be a better commissioner if I had been brought up through the ranks, if I had maybe served on a committee prior to my commissionership. And I always wondered if, if there ought to be, opportunity for succession. I know that there's a lot of people who serve on the commission, who have served on the committees, some concurrently. But I can't help but wonder if a commissioner, if a sitting commissioner should also hold a seat on the Zoning and Variance Committee. And I have no opinion either way. But I just thought I've often wondered why that is, because they get to exercise a vote for a recommendation as a sitting member of the Zoning and Variance Committee, and then they also exercise a vote on behalf of their district as part of a sitting commissioner. And I can't help but wonder if a commissioner should have a seat, should take 2 seats and 2 votes, or if we should maybe open that seat up to another member of the community who wants to be a commissioner one day and is looking to explore those options, and maybe zoning and variance is kind of a peak interest of theirs. Why not have it be a graduated succession plan and open that seat up to somebody else who wants to be part of the process?
point of order, this has nothing to do with what is on this amendment. I totally agree that that might be worthy of discussion, but this is not part of what the amendment here is saying. And I think that's something else that maybe we should even talk about a task force or committee based on that. But it has nothing to do with what's here in the writing.
I understand that, but there is a proposed rules and proposed bylaws changes. And I'm making mention of it because it's not part of it. Now we're taking time to discuss rules that shall be imposed upon the Zoning and Variance Committee members. And this was not part of it. I'd like it to be part of it. And I just was curious to learn if anybody else feels that a commissioner should take up 2 voting seats for a zoning and variance issue.
I think when, some months ago, we talked about the issue of how these committees are staffed. And I think one of the issues that we returned to a couple times was the fact that in most cases, people who want to sit on committees are allowed to sit on committees. Zoning and variance might be an exception where maybe there may be more interest in the committee than there are typically seats. But at the present time, I think just about anybody who wants to be a member of any committee typically can get involved and sit on those committees. Maybe this is something that we could continue to talk about, but I think Stephen has done a very good job of giving us a very clear and concise set of rules that we can adopt for, kind of the institutional memory and being able to have those committees work well in terms of being able to have succession and take care of some of these contingencies that up till now we've just kind of felt our way through. This gives us a little bit more of a framework. I think he's done a very good job of being very, very clear, I think very concise in how these things are organized. And I compliment him for it. I think he really sort of helped us feel our way through a difficult situation here. And he used the experience that he's had, not just as the chair of this committee, but Stephen has been a member of this committee for much longer than he's been chair. And I think he used both those experiences as well as seeing how the commission as a body works. I think he's done a great job of kind of giving us this piece of scaffolding here that we can work with. There may be a few adjustments to it. I would, be happy with just having the training being a rule as opposed to a part of the bylaws, however that wants to get addressed. But I think Stephen's given us a really significant stepping stone here, and we should take it.
Okay. Commissioner Wyman?
I agree with Chair White. I have a problem with a sitting commissioner taking up a seat on a committee that could be used for another volunteer. And and she's right. You get 2 cracks at something, and that doesn't feel right to me. I think the commissioners shouldn't be on these committees, and that they should leave that seat for someone who wants to volunteer.
Are we talking about all committees, or what do you?
No, the Zoning and Variance Committee.
Do we have that issue right now?
Typically, we've had, in most of the time I've been on it, we've usually had one commissioner sitting on the committee. And in some ways it's been nice because we don't have a vice chairperson that you could kind of treat them as a vice chair or as a committee liaison to the full commission. I think my guess is it probably wouldn't be a good idea to say commissioners shouldn't sit on all the committees simply because those committees need people. And you're not, I think, I forgot what you pointed out, but this one is the one that does it. Another possibility is just to put something in there discouraging it, and that way you commissioners can vote against it. But that way you're not maybe you want the thing about bylaws is they tie the hands of future commissioners. Now sometimes you want to tie their hands.
Yeah, I would remind the other commissioners that we approve the committee memberships. So if it's the sentiment of the commission that active members of the commission shouldn't sit on these committees, we can not seat them on those committees. I mean, that's I don't know that we need to say that in the bylaws necessarily. We can just simply make that a practice that we don't think it's a good idea. There may be some years where maybe zoning and variance really needs people, and we have some commissioners who are willing to kind of help increase the size of the committee because they need that. Okay, maybe that would be a good thing. But we always approve the membership, so if we don't,
Okay.
Good idea.
All right. Like I said, I didn't have an opinion either way, but just out of concern, because I know people have been turned away who actually applied for the Zoning and Variance Committee and were turned away because they were already at their numbers. And that didn't even get an opportunity to be presented on a slate to the commission. And that's why I made it worth mentioning. But I get what you're saying, Commissioner Votero. Maybe if someone at the time that they do apply and they're turned away because the Zoning and Variance Committee has already met their numbers, maybe we put them on some type of probationary list or a B list, and they get called up if any members are not.
Space available.
Yeah.
Well, how would we know? How do we know someone got turned away? Because it's the committee chair that makes those decisions. We don't see who gets turned away.
I think that's something that should be put in the rules of the committee when we submit them to the commission. I think those should be there, and the commission can, if the commission doesn't like, and if those aren't there and the commission wants it, you can add it by a simple majority. You can say this is what it's going to be. And I can tell you that if I am the chair again for this upcoming year, I will make sure and Mr. Commissioner Wyman, you are one person I would make sure I talked with to make sure that we are doing this in an adequately public way. That is a message that you got out loud and clear. So for one more year, I think if there's no way to get the bylaws changed to force it for the upcoming year, but there is a way. You just have to hold me accountable or hold the next zoning chair accountable for failing to do it if they fail to do it. And I think I hope that putting these up for debate shows that at least we're acting in good faith there. And again, everything comes back to the commission. Everything has to come back to the commission. And that's why if the commission doesn't like what's in the rules, thinks they aren't good enough, you get to change it. And as to the commissioner sitting on it, I kind of like having a commissioner on it just because it's nice having the elected person there and their perspective. But this is something reasonable people can disagree on. And that's a slight preference. That's not a, oh my God, the committee's going to fail if you do that thing.
Commissioner Bolton, I think you had your hand up. No?
Comment's been addressed. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I think it's a very good, I think you've done a great job, Stephen, and I think it's well worth a discussion, and I apologize if I apologize to the commission and to you, Stephen, if I threw any wrenches in the clockwork, but if we take time to pause and figure out how the rule, if we're visiting a rules and bylaws change for the zoning and variance committee, those were two things that I had on my mind. And I thought now was a point of order to bring those up. And I apologize if I stepped outside of those parameters.
And no, that's the whole point of why we're here, is to have discussions about these are serious discussions about the future. And perhaps one discussion we might want to put on the agenda next month is, or suggest you put, it's your choices, talk about how to publicize that there's going to be at least one opening on the zoning and variance committee in the upcoming year, at least one. And so that we know, so that what's the way you want to get the words out to people that they should be interested, and I can tell you, if I get any materials, the commission will get the materials. Anything I get from people, and I can share any packet I get from someone interested, it'll be an information dump. So do you want me at the next, maybe I'm get the gist is that by the next meeting, I should come up with language, and I can come up with alternative language about the training, and that way you can make the policy decisions about should versus shall. Again, I have a slight preference for one over the other, but this is not a, oh my God, the committee's going to fail if it goes the wrong way decision. Reasonable people can disagree with that. There's something about the vice chair taking notes, correct the typo that Commissioner Weatherholt meant. And yeah, so that we have training, typo, commissioner membership. Do I have something else I need to work on? Do I have any other homework before the next meeting? And
You
if
said
anyone has
something
any,
about the vice chair taking notes.
yeah. And Commissioner Weinman, I can send out this. I will work on this sooner rather than later. The last 2 weeks at work have been pretty much hell, but all of a sudden my deadline log is clear, which is a bizarre position for me to be in. So I have some time. I can send you, I'll try to work up some language in the next week or so and send it to you for your thoughts. And and I guess I can send it to the whole commission. I just want to be careful about not doing a round robin evasion of open meetings but I think Commissioner Votero had thoughts on it, and Chair White. If I only talk to 3 of you, I'm not violating open records. And I can always do a one-way dump. The city attorney has assured me that as long as I'm doing a one-way dump of information to you, it doesn't violate open meetings because I'm not a member of the commission.
All right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group to comment on? We've actually got some spare time here at the end of the agenda. Ty, thank you so much for doing a great job of managing our socials. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. And the one thing I was going to mention is what Stephen already brought up of like the publicizing, if other committees also have the same question, we can at least start. Maybe we don't have a template or anything ready, but we can at least start being like, hey, we're going to have some openings on these committees or anything like that. So,
and one thing I also think we should look at doing is consider diversity, because as far as I know, the entire time I've been involved with the commission, I have never seen a non-white person on any committee or on the commission. And that's not a good thing. And I'm not blaming it, and I'm as much responsible as anyone. So I'm clearly not putting any blame on anyone else, but that's something we should consider as we're going through here. And I'd ask you to think about that as you come up with outreach ideas. And before I forget to mention, my meeting next month is going to be, I want to put it public, the zoning and variance meeting is a half hour late next month. It'll start at 7:30, not 7. But,
All right. Anything else for the good of the group, anyone?
I could have mentioned this during my District 5 update, but a happy 90th birthday to Don Westhoven in our Chatham 400 Road block. Very, very exciting birthday on our block. And on a happy note here.
Yeah, my neighbor across the street is coming home from Florida on May 15th, and she turns 99 this year. That's exciting. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
All right. Have a happy Memorial Day. Have a happy Mother's Day. And then we shall see you all in June. Take great care, everybody.